Today on Keep Shooting Monday, I have a special guest. Hey everyone, Greg Cazillo from Cazillo.com. Welcome to another Keep Shooting Monday. You saw Gracie a second ago, and we actually have a great series on dogs that I'm going to be talking about, as well as she's moving around the studio. You might hear that little tinkle, tinkle, tinkle. That's her. I also have the winners from the last assignment, and that was from a duplicate photo assignment. I picked two that I really liked from that assignment. And she's still wandering around. Not sure if you can hear that in the mic. There was an interesting article that I saw this week that talked about getting it right in camera, and the idea of the straight out of the camera and how that's pure, quote unquote. In my opinion, I don't think that that is totally true. I think that just about every photo, especially in the digital age, really needs to be edited in some way or form. Even back in the day with Ansel Adams, he would always edit his images, but it would be in the darkroom instead of being in Photoshop. So pretty much everything, every photo that's out there, even the amazing ones from the guy that I talked about last week, Yusuf Karsh, even to Ansel Adams, they shopped, quote unquote, a lot of their photos. Whether it was in a dark room or now we use Photoshop. So it really, getting it right in camera, in this article anyway, really talks about how there are multiple levels of that, and some people have different levels, one versus another. I try to go to a little bit more of an extreme to get it right, but it's going to be different for each individual person. So do your best, figure out your level, where you're comfortable, and then kind of go from there. Also today we have Cazillion questions. Let's start off with that. Question from Jim: is lens/body calibration something you do, or is it something to leave alone until you think there is a problem? For the most part, Jim, I don't touch lens and body calibration at all. If you really, really needed it, you have very tight tolerances, you're shooting a lot of, say, macro stuff with your 85-1.4, where you have a super shallow depth of field, or even say like one of the Canon 1.2 lenses, something like that, then I might think that it would be needed. Maybe if you're doing medical photography, that kind of thing, you might really need to do it. But you're just doing portraits, you're doing landscapes, you're doing anything else, I really don't see a need to calibrate the two of them together. If you do find that you're having issues with your camera, focusing whether it's the lens or you think it might be the body, send it in, get it looked at by Canon or Nikon or Sony or whoever it is, the original manufacturer of it, have it brought back to specs, then you'll be in better shape. You should not have to calibrate the two of them at all. I really don't get how I can judge the quality of a print. Any tips? Quality of a print really comes down to personal preference. I like my portraits a little bit warmer usually, a little bit more yellow, maybe a little bit more magenta in them. But I would say number one, make sure you have a good overhead light source. Indoor lighting might be a little bit different versus daylight. Having a nice daylight source is going to give you the best balance of evening and daytime. That's always going to be preferable, maybe over by a window, something like that. As far as the print itself, you don't want to go over sharp. You can get that kind of weird look. I'll show you an example here of an over sharpened photo. It just has these weird little edges and things to it. It doesn't look good. Obviously white balance, making sure the image itself is sharp. Checking the color. Is the color a little off one way or another? And then how's the overall exposure or the overall just way to look, the colors and that kind of thing. So it does come with time and practice. As you practice it more, you're going to be able to judge it a lot quicker, just be able to look at it and in 3 seconds say, okay, that's good or bad. Or you might say, oh, there's something wrong here. Just do it with practice, keep practicing, keep trying at it, and you will eventually get better. Our last photo assignment was the duplicate assignment. I was surprised at the number of submissions. We only had a few submissions on this one. So I'm hoping that you guys will keep participating, and that's why the new one is going to be a lot of fun. Anyway, there were a couple of really good submissions that I liked. The first one is this portrait. I love the light. I love how he did his best to duplicate the light and the feeling. And that was from, I forget his name, Mark. That's right. Love this photo from Mark. Did a really nice job, and so yeah, Mark's was number 2. My number 1 photo this week was also from Mark, but this time he did painting with light, which I think is awesome. He used this photo as his, what's the word I'm looking for? Inspiration, that's it. And then he created this photo with it. My suggestion for the future might be to allow the light to bleed out a little bit more. Maybe have not quite of a tight pattern with that mag light, with his light source basically. Just allow it to kind of fade out a little bit. It's something you need to experiment with, just like Mark says in his post. It actually took him 40 photos to get this one. So, but it's really is an awesome way to create some really cool photos and to do something different. A lot of times you're not able to create these types of images with normal lighting, and using painting with light can make some awesome images. So Mark, thank you very much for posting. This was definitely a difficult challenge, and hopefully we'll have a better response for the next ones. Our next assignment, as you probably could have guessed, is going to be a pet portrait. I'd love to see a photo of a dog, but I realize not everybody has a portrait of a dog or has a dog that they have access to. So just choose any pet that you have or that you can steal. Gracie here is actually not my dog. She's a friend of mine's little dog that we stole for the day, and I promised we were going to return her. But anyway, she's been very good, but we kidnapped her for the day. Anyway, how about some tips before we start that? Number 1, and I had to write these down. I forgot. Don't want to forget them. Number 1 that's easy is wait until they're a little bit sleepy. If they're really excited and they're kind of high-strung, wait until a little bit sleepier, maybe after they have some food. That can make a big difference and kind of calm them down a little bit. And it does make a difference, believe me, especially with younger dogs or puppies. Wait until a little tired after they eat, big difference. Number 2, and this have worked with Gracie amazingly today, is actually get a little squeaker or high-pitched noises. She's kind of used to my voice and used to Kim's voice, so it's helping me. And then I get out the little squeaker toy, and it made all the world of difference. Her ears popped right up, and just it was like, oh wow, look at that thing, a new noise. So it was huge. Number 3, get some help. Kim was a huge help with me today, helping me out today with some photos of Gracie, which I will go over on Thursday, so stay tuned for that video. Especially with puppies or younger dogs, excitable dogs, if you get 1 or 2 people to help keep the dog in place, and then you can worry about using the camera and shooting. Now, when I was in the studio, I actually found that it was better to take the camera, put it on a tripod, and then set up my shot, and that gave me a more consistent framing. Instead of having to worry about that, I could just shoot and focus instead of worry about framing too, and so that made a big difference. Next one, make it fun and allow them to play. Don't just kind of throw the camera in their face and start shooting. It needs to be fun for them, and they need to be able to enjoy it. Make sure that they can actually kind of sniff the camera, get used to the camera, make sure they can get used to the noise the camera's making, and all of those things will make it more enjoyable for the dog. Last one, make sure you don't shoot too shallow of depth of field. Make sure that they have this nice little snout right here. Make sure you're focusing in the right spot, which is still the eyes, but you don't want the nose and the ears to be super out of focus. So shoot probably at f4. If you're shooting with a 70 to 200, something like that. You can probably get away with 2.8 if you have a shorter lens, like a 24 to 70 that you're shooting with. You'll probably be fine. But if you're shooting with a 70 to 200, you want at least, I would say, f4, maybe even 5.6 if you have a bigger dog. Obviously with Gracie here, she's a little Jack Russell, and so, you know, she has a smaller snout, and you don't really need a whole lot of space, a whole lot of depth of field there. So questions about this one, again, I will put up another video on Thursday showing you the photos that I did of Gracie and talking about those. And if you have any other tips or any other ideas, go ahead and post them onto the comments right below. Greg Cazillo, Cazillo.com. Thanks, guys. Keep shooting. See ya. Say bye, Gracie. Today on Keep Shooting Monday, I have a special guest. Today on Keep Shooting Monday, I have a special guest. Today on Keep Shooting Monday, I have a special guest. Today... Today, I can't even do it now. Today on Keep Shooting Monday, I have a special guest. Today on Keep Shooting Monday, I have a special guest. Today on Keep Shooting Monday, I have a special guest. Today on Keep Shooting Monday, I have a special guest. Today on Keep Shooting Monday, I have a special guest. Good? I got something in there, right?